Welcome to the Kumbay'all Podcast, the whole woman's resource. I am Dr. Amanda Shipley, a pelvic physical therapist who is passionate about prevention and supporting women along their holistic health journey. Today I am speaking with Caitlin Sampson, clinical nutritionist and owner of True Food and Wellness in Smyrna, Georgia. We discuss her new cookbook, what she has learned since becoming a mom, and the top things she recommends we all can do to prevent disease. Visit me at kumbayallpodcast.com if you would like to check out the show notes for this episode. We will have links to Caitlin's website and the resources she refers to during our conversation. Enjoy! Well, Caitlin, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to have you here with me on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'd love to start by having you tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay, sure. So I actually have quite a health history, so I'll try to be concise with this. But really, it all started back to when I was a child. I just remember being about 5 years old and being in a lot of joint pain. And now I grew up in Western New York, Buffalo area. So as you can imagine, cold winters. And that's when the joint pain seemed the worst. So we just assumed, my family and I assumed that it was the cold weather that was causing that. But later I learned that I did have a pretty significant issue of rheumatoid arthritis. I do come from a family of 7 kids, so I'm one of the youngest. And at that point, it's no fault to my parents, but it was kind of like they've seen everything. You're okay. Yeah. Brush it off. So I just kind of dealt with it. I know that sounds crazy, but you just kind of think some of these things are just normal. So fast forward to when I was a teenager, I actually had a lot of gallbladder issues for about a year. I had significant pain. That was my gallbladder, but I didn't know. We just thought it was indigestion. So I was taking the Maalox and drinking that down. And of course, eventually that only helped so much. And I ended up in the emergency room one night with pancreatitis. Wow. One of the gallstones was passing into my pancreas, causing significant inflammation. And I remember it was probably about 2 a.m. and I just woke up throwing up. And couldn't stop, and the pain was so severe, and nothing was making the pain go away. So went up to my mom, the doctor, she called the doctor, and he said, it's probably her appendix, bring her to the emergency room right now. Well, it turns out it was pancreatitis, and they did say if I would have waited any longer, I would have been dead. Wow. Because it was pretty serious. So I had my gallbladder out about a month later after that inflammation went down in the pancreas, and at that point, it was kind of like, okay, well, now I can keep eating what I was eating and, I feel a lot better. Fast forward, though, maybe another 10 years from there, I had significant digestive issues that I attributed to my gallbladder being out. But I can say that I no longer have those issues. So I know it wasn't just from the gallbladder being taken out, but it was also from the way I was eating. So significant digestive issues. And then I ended up, kind of the straw that broke the camel's back was that I didn't get a menstrual cycle for over a year. And at this point, I knew something. You had
already started your period, then it went away, or you were late in getting it?
Yeah, I just, no, it was just non-existent.
Yeah.
I mean, it would come maybe a little bit, but it was not like a real period, and it just, was not coming back, and I didn't know what was going on. So my mom had said, you really need to go to the doctor, figure out what's going on. And long story short, they said I probably had polycystic ovarian syndrome, and they prescribed birth control, which made me really, really sick. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And I said, I'll just hope that things normalize. So my sister was seeing a natural health practitioner who was helping her a lot. And she said, you know what, you should really come see him to see if he can help you. And at that point, I was so desperate. I was willing to try anything. And so I did. And I knew if his program was going to work, that I would get my period back. And I did. 8 weeks later, I followed through to a T with what he recommended. And I just realized, oh my gosh, I thought I was eating healthy. I grew up on a farm eating tons of fruits and vegetables. We hardly went out to eat, but there were still a lot of foods I was very, very sensitive to that were stressing my body out. And I was a huge sugar addict. I realized that was a huge problem for me. And he helped me realize that and start to get on the path to healing. And all the other issues that I had went away. No more digestive issues. And I mean, the digestive issues are pretty significant where, it would be like, I need a bathroom now.
Yeah.
It was very embarrassing. I felt like I couldn't go anywhere without this fear of where's the bathroom.
Right.
Now I can go anywhere. I can travel anywhere. And, I look back like, where would I be, today if I didn't fix things then? And my anxiety went away. My fatigue, I forgot to mention that terrible fatigue. Now I was a fitness director and here I am in the middle of the day wanting to just crash and take a nap. And I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate to that afternoon crash.
Yes.
You need the coffee, you need the chocolate. That's always what I did. And eventually I got to the point where I didn't have that crash anymore. So there was a lot of healing that took place. I just valued having energy so much because I'm one that likes to get stuff done. And my energy improved. My joint pain went away. And this is where I realized I was naturally healing myself from rheumatoid arthritis.
Yes.
By, the main goal of just trying to get my period back. But the body heals as a whole. So all the issues that I had no longer existed in time. And it took time, but the body, I feel, heals pretty quickly. And I was able to see some signs of things progressing in the right direction. So long story short, that's my health history of why I went back to school for nutrition to get a master's in clinical nutrition, because I knew that I had to share this with others and help other people, because it's just no way to live. We want that good quality of life.
Yeah. And so now for people who don't know you, you have a private practice in Smyrna, Georgia.
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I started my own business after I got my master's degree, again, just because that passion was there to share this with others. And I do work definitely with women who have hormonal imbalances, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I can relate a lot to that. And I've even had women with fertility issues as well. So that's something I'm really passionate on helping with. Also, again, kind of relating to some, the hormonal balance.
Right.
And I love working too with people with digestive issues, because I can relate. I think all these things, I can relate to almost everything, really.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, unfortunately, or unfortunately, I guess you're led down a path for a certain reason. There's blessings in that. And I actually have quite a few clients with autoimmune issues. And of course I can relate to that too.
Yeah.
So it's definitely very enjoyable to help folks in this way.
And you also recently published a book. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, sure. So that's, the Rheumatoid Arthritis Cookbook. Of course, geared towards those with rheumatoid arthritis. Tons of recipes in there to help those with that condition. But definitely it can relate to other autoimmune conditions, multiple sclerosis and really any other autoimmune issue that someone is going through. But this was my guidelines really to help someone with that condition. So there's definitely lots of great anti-inflammatory recipes, removing certain foods from the diet that can be big triggers for those with autoimmune conditions.
And I like the resources that you have at the end, and then like the Clean 15 and there's just a lot of great, resources even in the back that I thought were super, super helpful to have all together. So I really think it's a fantastic cookbook. I wanted to make sure we bring that up and maybe, even talk about it more in a little bit. So
yeah, sounds great.
So you mentioned about treating women and the autoimmune conditions. Are there any other types of conditions you can help people with, or any other things you can, I know you treat women, men, and children. If you can kind of talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
So I would say I don't necessarily just focus on one area in my practice. I always have been told like you have to find that focus, but I think I enjoy so many different areas that it's hard to narrow in. And I really do work with those of all ages, even kids. So being a mother of a 10-month-old, kids are our future, so I'm very passionate about helping moms, and also, then that escalates, I think, to the children and the rest of the family being healthier as well. So, I have also, work with people with sleep issues, again, even males with hormonal imbalances, autism, Lyme disease.
Yeah.
So weight issues. So it kind of ranges from, I guess you could say, less serious, if you will, with a weight issue to a very serious chronic health condition such as, autism, Lyme disease. And I really think, the reason I feel that I can help with these issues is because it's always about finding what is interfering with the physiology of the body. And our body, I just value the human body so much. I'm sure you can relate, being a physical therapist, all the training you've had, it's an amazing machine, and it knows what to do, and it knows how to heal, but we have to remove the interferences. So my goal when I'm working with anyone is, what are those interferences? What are the toxins that they're exposed to? We live in a pretty toxic world. I guess it might be dramatic maybe to say we're all toxic. We all need cleanup.
Right.
And I think of it, I'm a very visual learner. I think of filling up a bathtub. And if you don't open the drain up, it just keeps filling. So these toxins just keep building. If you don't support the body in the right way, if you don't support the liver, if you don't support the kidneys, how are we going to get these toxins to get out of the body? So with anyone, it is about finding those interferences. And I use a type of testing called autonomic response testing, developed by a German physician, Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt, to identify what are these interferences. How do we kind of help open somebody up to healing? And I find that to just be pretty profound. The reason I use that is because it worked for me to help with my health issues and to narrow in on what I needed to work on. So a long answer there, but really I feel like definitely it can help with a lot of different issues that people are experiencing.
Well, I think people think clinical nutritionist. When would I go to see one? Oh, I have a weight issue. I want to lose weight. And like we've talked about, that is one part of your practice, but it sounds like it's actually a minority of the practice, just optimizing health, feeling good, feeling energetic, getting rid of some of the negative symptoms, health, problems that they have is more your forte. And I like how your practice, and you already touched a little bit about that with the testing from Dr. Klinghardt. Is that his name?
Correct.
Yeah. That it's very, very personalized. That's what I really appreciate of what you bring to the table. It's not like, come see me and we're going to count calories and we're going to, It's not at all about that. It's way bigger and way, like I said, more personalized for each individual person. Is this one food or something irritating your body right now? Right now, how are we doing? So in that, if you can talk a little more about your way of nutritional counseling, like describing us, what would a visit be like? How would, what could a person expect when they come to see you? And this is a lot, but your treatment philosophy, your style of care, you've kind of touched on some of that. But
I think definitely, like I was saying, it focuses on where's the inflammation, where are those toxins, what do we need to clean up in that person's life? And it is very individualized, because I've had people where we're working on sleep first.
Yeah.
Because if we're not sleeping enough, that's a huge inflammatory load on the body, is not getting sleep. I actually had someone else, we had to work on time management with her to start. I mean, it's so different for everybody. So while yes, we're working, of course, on the nutrition, it's a very holistic approach. And that's my philosophy, is the paperwork I have folks complete really looks at all these different areas and signals to me, okay, what do we need to work on? And the other token as well, it's not about fixing everything at once. So my approach also is to be almost like a coach as well. So I do have a significant health coaching background, which has been so wonderful to implement with my folks, because I realize nobody wants to feel like they're, being scolded at.
Right.
They need to be guided. And we also need to do things kind of when we're ready. I look back, it's taken me years to work on my health. And there were certain things I was ready to do and other things came in time. So by coaching my folks too, I feel like that helps us collaborate together on like, okay, we're ready for this. Let's work on this for our next visit. You know, baby steps I think are important as well. So as far as the consultation, it does take normally about 2 hours. The reason being it takes time to get to know someone and what they're going through. I just don't understand how you can have a 15-minute office visit at a doctor's office and expect to get things really addressed and get to the root cause. So it does take some time, and it does take me time, of course, to do that testing I was mentioning, autonomic response testing, and that helps us kind of narrow in on the individualized plan as well, which is always different for everybody. Because we're all individuals as well. So yeah, just taking a good holistic approach and getting to know the person and what their main concerns are.
And you're singing my song because that is exactly what I strive for and I look for. You know, it's not just the absence of disease, it's the presence of wellness. And so you're talking about like the 15-minute consultation. How does anyone do a good job, you know, or how can you get a full entire picture of any person? And then speaking to the health coaching background, and the health coaching I think is so important too, because even if we take the time to identify everything our patients need to work on, if we don't then first address the barriers for them meeting that, you know, we're not setting them up for success. And like you said, they don't want to fail. They want to achieve what they need, but we need to kind of meet them where they're at. And the baby steps, I think, is so powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. How often do you normally follow up with a patient, or what does that look like?
Yeah, that varies too, but typically there are some frequent follow-ups at first. As you can imagine, changing your diet, changing anything, I like to kind of keep tabs on someone to make sure we're moving forward. So usually I would do, after a consultation, you know, a weekly visit, maybe another one as well before we start spacing them out to every 2 to 3 weeks, and then getting out to monthly. You know, obviously the less frequent we see each other, I think the better, you know, because that's a sign that we're moving forward and you don't need such accountability from me. But at first, yeah, it's pretty frequent. And then we space those out until we, you know, get to that comfortable place of a maintenance phase. Great. Where some of those issues are really starting to be addressed or have been addressed, that we're comfortable not seeing each other as frequently.
Yeah. And so in the beginning, you said the first visit will be 2 hours. What are the follow-up visits? How long do they usually last?
Usually it's at least 45 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe even up to an hour for the follow-ups.
Okay. So now you had mentioned about the toxicity of our world and that we're all toxic. Can you go a little more into that, as far as what are some things that cause that toxicity, or what are we dealing with that we have to undo?
Yeah. Well, for starters, the air we breathe, the water we drink. I mean, these are huge toxins nowadays. Yeah. So that's why I think we're all, in a way, you know, toxic. And the food we eat, huge piece. Are we eating processed food day in and day out? Or in my case, just foods that I was sensitive to, you know, that I thought were healthy, you know, but were toxic to my body. They were inflaming my body. Environmental toxins. Are we painting all day? Are we a painter or a hairstylist? There's a lot of chemicals in products now that we have to be aware of. And that is something I came to realize is, you know, being aware of beauty products that we use even. Hairstylist that I know, she's very passionate about organic products. And I believe she said, you know, women use on average maybe like 20 to 30 products a day. I believe it. And I was like, wow, but when you really do add it up, yes, that's true. And imagine all those different chemicals in there that we're putting on our body, that's going right into our body. So, you know, again, when someone's ready to start cleaning up their beauty products, I think that's a great thing. Maybe someone's not ready to start there, and that's okay. But it is important to be aware of that can be a toxic load that we're experiencing also.
Yeah, so you can spend money in one way and do all these things, but then you can also spend money or save money, I should say, and cut some of the stuff
Cut it out. Yeah.
Like things that we don't even, I remember when I learned, I don't need shave gel. That blew my mind.
Right.
Like, I can use soap to shave. I was like, what? And great. It's like one less thing in the shower that we need to deal with. And, face wash, I've been kind of changing that. And it's kind of funny on my road to being even more crunchier than I
know. It's a process, I'm surprised I got to this point. I wouldn't have imagined it 5 years ago, 10 years ago. The good news is there's great products out there now that really do a great job, that are a little less toxic. And I think we've come a long way with that stuff. So you don't have to feel like you're not getting a good quality product. You can definitely get something cleaner that's still great quality and about the same price, maybe even cheaper. Maybe you can even make some stuff yourself down the road.
Right. Now, so thinking about in an ideal world, we've cut as many toxins out as we can. Say we have pretty clean healthcare products, household cleaning products, or beauty care products, I should say. So do you think for optimal health, do we need to be taking still some like supplements and I'm not talking just like omegas and vitamin D and like a multivitamin or whatever equivalent to that.
Right.
Do like some of you are talking about like the liver support, now, is that something that we all really in essence need, or can we get it? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, absolutely.
Do we not need that if we're doing everything else just right, or how do you feel?
Honestly, I think we all need to be on what's called a binder.
Okay.
And the job of those is to bind to toxins to get them out of the body. I think even when you're cleaning up a lot of stuff, there's still probably stuff that we just constantly need to kind of keep things moving out.
Right.
It can vary though on what binder someone needs. And when I say binder, again, it's kind of like a mop cleaning up toxins. Okay. That's how they work. And it could be chlorella. It could be a charcoal, clay, a zeolite, powder. Those are just examples of ones. And there's also binders that work for environmental toxins, where I've seen if someone has maybe put a hair product on their hair, they may test as needing that binder at that period of time in their life.
Right.
So I think it's really absolutely everybody should be on something like that to just kind of keep cleaning up the terrain.
Right.
And then sometimes, we do need to add in that extra liver support or kidney support. It really just depends on that individual. I will say, I do feel like when the nutrition is pretty spot on, that I see less of those supplements needed.
Good. Because
the body is so much better supported. But again, just because even when we're cleaning up the beauty products and all of that, there's still, again, that air we breathe, water we drink, we may, go somewhere and get exposed to something, and we can just do the best we can in our own environment. Yeah. But there's just always going to be some toxic load. But again, I think less is needed for sure. When you can control those things, you can, your nutrition, get your sleep, etc.
Yeah, that's great. What are some symptoms that women you treat seem to have nowadays? Are there things that, a lot of women specifically are dealing with, or?
Yeah, I think the hormone imbalance is definitely a key one. I see quite a few women coming in with hormones, whether they be synthetic or bioidentical, which are more natural hormones. In my experience, though, what really needs to happen is that cleanup process, getting the toxic load down. Yeah. I have seen women not need their hormones in time. Wow. And that's obviously something they need to also address with their doctor as far as reducing those, getting off of those. But just from the work we've done, cleaning up the toxic load allows the hormonal system to work like it should. Nice. It takes off that load. Yeah. And sometimes they're just amazed and they're scared to go off these hormones they've been on a while. But again, their body knows what to do. And maybe in certain cases, they still need those or a reduced amount. But I have seen it possible where we can reduce sometimes thyroid medications or, again, those synthetic or bioidentical hormones. Yeah. So definitely that imbalance, maybe going through menopausal symptoms, fatigue and hot flashes. And I've seen, again, when we balance hormones with nutrition and good supplementation, they have improvements. I feel like sleep issues are very prevalent in women and everybody really, even kids, which kills me because they need their sleep so much. But I definitely feel like women suffer from that, and weight issues. I've had a few that are actually, they come in, their diets are pretty good. We have to make some tweaks there, but they might be, struggling with that weight loss. And even with a great diet, we're trying to figure out, well, what could be that missing piece? What else do you need to work on? And for example, I did have a client who, as a child, was exposed to chemicals from, a shop that her parents owned. And
like a car shop, or what kind of shop?
It was actually like fragrances, like candles and things like that. So, we questioned whether that disrupted hormones. And if you have good hormone balance, it makes weight loss way, way easier. A good, healthy body is going to lose weight. So, these were things that we had to look at for her on top of the nutrition.
What are, in case people don't know, what are some symptoms of hormone imbalance? What could they say? Oh yeah, that's me. Maybe I have hormone imbalance.
Yeah. So it could be a weight issue, possibly sleep issue, menstruation issues, maybe periods are irregular, or maybe even heavy periods, just something that's not normal, really. I think too, even fatigue can be a sign as well.
Okay. And when you were mentioning about being on synthetic hormones, is just to clarify, is that for women who already have gone through menopause, or saying even younger people?
Yeah, good question. The ones I've had on that have come in with on those have gone through menopause.
Okay. Yeah. Just to make sure I was understanding.
Yep.
Okay. And how you mentioned your 10-month-old little boy, who is so adorable. How has your childbirth and motherhood experiences influenced your practice, or has it?
Oh, absolutely. Life-changing in a good way. Obviously, time is pulled, of course, from things. But I will say, I think the best thing is to be able to relate to mothers, to women. I have a whole new appreciation for women carrying a baby, going through pregnancy. You don't realize how challenging that is until you actually go through it. And also just giving birth and being a mom and like caring for this baby. It's just unreal. And then, the whole breastfeeding, and I mean, you're responsible for feeding that child. That's just unreal. So I think what has really been amazing is I've been humbled, I think, by working with women I can relate to. I'll give you an example. I had a client, and she was just not feeling good the first trimester. If I didn't go through that myself, I would have been like, you just need to eat this way.
Yeah.
You just need to do it. But by going through it myself and realizing the nausea, just certain foods you just cannot eat. And I was so frustrated being a nutritionist. And here I am like, I need to be eating my vegetables. Well, there were just certain things. I couldn't even go to the grocery store.
Wow.
I just was so appalled by food. I couldn't cook things. I just couldn't do cooked vegetables for weeks. Wow. And I reached out to a naturopathic physician that I really admire, Jolene Brighton. She's just great for women's health issues. And I followed a lot of her stuff. She's very inspiring. She actually wrote me and said, Caitlin, reach out to me in a couple weeks. Don't be so hard on yourself. Here's a couple tips. And I really felt better about it. I was like, you know what? This is going to pass, I think. I hope.
Time limited, yeah.
And it did. And so that helped me relate to this client in particular, to tell her, it's okay.
Yeah.
Do the best you can. Just try to get in some good nutrition wherever you can, but don't beat yourself up about it because it's probably going to pass in time. So I realized, you have the best of intentions, but it's just not going to be perfect. So I feel like the whole process just made me, be a little bit more humble and realize it's not that easy.
Well, and what you said really struck a chord with me about working with women to get their health improved or on point. And then from there, I mean, not only they're going to feel better themselves. They're taking care of their family better. Their cup is full. They're just energized. But then they also realize, okay, this is how we should be living. And then, trickle down effect to their children's health. And then, and then the kids just start learning this is how we care for our bodies. This is how we take care of ourselves. We don't need to have fluffer nutter sandwiches,
Right.
It's like
Exactly.
they don't grow up on that like I did, And
Right.
yeah, and it just kind of is going to be this trickle down effect of just kind of health going down the generation. So I think it's so powerful. Talking about time and babies and how do you balance everything with, business owner, mom?
Yeah. It's not always easy, but I think number one, I've had to throw perfectionism out the window, and I tend to be a perfectionist, and that's just going to stress me out more. So there are just some days that not everything gets done. Yeah. I do like to make a to-do list. I try to make it realistic. Yeah. And that way
talking like 3 things or 10 or how many?
Maybe I'll put 5 on there tops, of like, I want to get these 5 things done today. And this is realistic. And honestly, it could be as simple as cleaning the kitchen, starting the laundry. Yeah. You got to feel accomplished, because otherwise you're just going to feel like you're running a rat race.
Yes.
And
sometimes one of my lists is to shower.
I did that before too.
I know. When they're really little, it's like, yes, I took a shower today. Yay me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, little things, anything you want to put on there, just cross it off and you'll feel good about that. So that's what I have to do. And so I've just had to let some things go and try to live in the present moment. I know my little guy is just growing so fast, and I have to just enjoy the minutes as much as I can with him, while also, of course, being there for my clients too. So trying to manage time the best that I can, to-do lists, and throwing out perfectionism have been key.
I think that is key, because I think, to be a mom and then to run your own business, there are a lot of people I see, even in my practice, we seem to be perfectionists, or we have this level of, standard that we try to keep ourselves to, that we really need to give ourselves some wiggle room, I think, and some grace. And I do think that's important.
Exactly.
What resources have you found since becoming a mom that maybe, you started sharing with your clients? Is there anything that comes to mind that?
Yeah, a couple that I've saved because I knew it would be helpful for others was actually some breastfeeding videos that my midwife and doula sent to me that really helped me a lot with breastfeeding. So I love to share those. There was a great article I read too on tips to help with nausea for moms that are, pregnant, experiencing that. So I've shared that with some of my clients just to give them some ideas to help them get through that time if they experience that. And I too love Wellness Mama. I don't know if you've ever checked out her website.
I have. So she is good. Do you recommend her?
I like some of her stuff. Yeah. Like I just read an article yesterday about if you can't breastfeed anymore, or you just can't, there is like a formula that you can make that she recommended on there. And so she's directing you to some other good resources. And I did like her book she has on more natural pregnancy.
Great.
She has recipes in there and just kind of guides you through week of your pregnancy, of how big the baby is. It's just a more natural take on pregnancy, childbirth. And I think she's very non-judgmental as well. And that's, I think, a thing I learned too, is we go in having this mindset about what we want our birth to be like and what kind of mom we want to be. And, sometimes you just deal with the cards that are handed to you. You just don't always have 100% control of, of certain things when it comes to birth. And I realized that as well. Like in my mind, I had always been like, I'm never going to have a C-section, but you know what? You might, it might just come down to that path. You hope it doesn't, but I had to accept that could happen. And I also had to realize that I needed to if that did happen, I needed to be at peace with that as well. So you just never know. Some things just may come up.
Yeah, that's so true. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your delivery or your experience? I know you didn't have a quote unquote traditional experience, but
yeah. Well, my husband and I both had decided that a home birth is what we wanted to do. And I realize everybody has their own preferences. For me, that just felt right. I've never been one that's thrilled about being at a hospital. I just get really stressed out and anxious over that. And I had done a lot of research before and know, a few people have had home births and had wonderful experiences. Do you mind me sharing that, Amanda? You did. So you were definitely an inspiration to me.
Thank you.
Very much so. And it was amazing. I mean, I just... I could cry thinking about it. I just watched our video. We had a birth photographer there who created a video, and like every day for the first month after my guy was born, I watched that video and cried and cried and cried because it was so beautiful.
Wow.
And it was just really peaceful. We were able to have him born in the water, and
he was really late though too. When did you end up delivering?
Yeah, he was over 2 weeks late.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And he was healthy and everything went smoothly.
It really did. And so, if you're hearing the word home birth, like, oh my gosh, that sounds so unsafe. I felt so safe. My husband, he felt like he never freaked out at all during the whole process. Yeah. We had a doula there who is absolutely wonderful. And our midwife is like a mom to us who we still keep in touch with. And that is just the relationship I wanted to have with who is delivering our baby. And it was really wonderful. He came out very calm, and I just loved being at home. I hardly slept. They kept telling me I had to sleep, and I thought I would just totally zonk out after going through birth and labor, but I was so just, the hormones really just come rushing in where you're just like elated with the birth of this baby. And I just wouldn't imagine doing it any other way. If I can have another home birth, I totally would do it that way.
Well, and just the fact that you were allowed to go, 2 weeks post date. I mean, it's just a guest date anyway. And so many women, I think, just are bullied in. Oh my gosh, you're on your due date. And then they, are inducted, or they, they're just forced into things they may not want. So, but like you said, we don't really have complete control, but with the home birth, maybe a little more so, I felt.
Yeah. It was getting close to where I would have to do an induction, I guess a more natural induction, if you can call it that. And that was actually going to happen the next day because we were really getting to that point of not being able to have a home birth because he was becoming, there's more risks, of course. Right. But he came that day before, thank goodness. Right. So I didn't have to go through with that. But you're right. Our midwife was really respectful of our decision. And, kind of said, okay, let's give it just a couple more days because things were looking really good, fluid level. And, we were getting him checked regularly at the doctor's office. So we were fortunate enough to be able to wait a little bit longer until he was ready.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, switching gears, or not switching gears really, but back to thinking about prevention. I just believe so strongly in prevention. And my hope with this podcast in part is to, share some knowledge that my guests have with the listeners to help them prevent issues from coming in, realize what resources they have to treat when they do have issues, but also to prevent further issues or further dysfunction or, disease or whatever. So, what are some of your general prevention tips, or, if there's anything that you recommend women do to try to help avoid problems down the road? Yeah.
Nutrition wise, I think number one, just reducing the white sugar in your diet.
It's wherever so hard.
You can. It is not easy. And I am a sugar addict.
I need to do that more. I do.
So they do say for women no more than 25 grams of added sugar for the day. That does not include fruit. Fruit is considered natural sugar.
And like dates, that's natural, right?
Dates would be natural sugar. Okay. So, if you have a flavored yogurt, how much sugar is added to that? That could be like dessert, where maybe you could have an apple and some almonds instead as a snack. So simple replacements that you can find to make it easy on yourself. I think that's a key thing. Right. But I just feel like the white sugar just wreaks so much havoc, on our hormone balance, like we've been talking a lot about today. Weight issues, you name it. It just totally disrupts the physiology of the body. And from what I've read, that we actually use up nutrients to digest white sugar. So you can make yourself more deficient in magnesium, which is a great mineral we need to help with regular bowel movements, sleep, etc. We, so many things. Yeah. So I think that's a huge one. And along those lines, reducing processed foods in the diet. I suggest looking at the ingredients of anything that you buy that has a package just to see how many ingredients are in here. Can I pronounce them even? Is there a really long list? Those are keys that there's probably, artificial flavorings or preservatives in there or food dyes, etc. Right. So I think that's a huge thing. And along those lines, having just real food the most you can. An avocado is an avocado, an apple's an apple. You don't even have to read a label. Yep. So just switching over to more of a whole food based diet, real food, one ingredient foods, I think is definitely going to help you prevent a lot of diseases because you've got the nutrients coming in. Yeah. And the components in those foods help our liver to detox, help our body function like it needs to. If you looked at, I'll tell my folks, if you looked at the metabolic cycle, we would be amazed at all that's going on there. All those enzymes, they need nutrients to run. So we can't expect the body to just run well without feeding it the proper fuel. Right. Would you put the wrong gas in your car and expect it to run great? Of course not. So how can we put junk in and expect it to run great? Yeah. So, not to get overwhelmed with that, but start where you can. Yeah. I will share with you all listening that, again, I was a sugar addict. So what they did for me was the first week, I had to remove added sugar until 10 a.m. That was it. Yeah. Didn't have to worry about the rest of the day. Then the next week was till 12 p.m. The next week was till 2 p.m. The next week was till 5 p.m. Now, in my mind, I knew I had to avoid it completely. Right. I knew that it wasn't doing me any good, but I didn't feel like a failure then. And, it depends how you want to do it. For me, I was trying to avoid the bad withdrawal from that as well, and to just find replacements slowly. Yeah. That worked really well for me. So you can do things as slow as you need to. I had one gentleman who was having a high sugar load for breakfast, orange juice, mocha drink, sugary cereal, and just even a few days per week, he started to add more protein into that breakfast and cut out one of those sugary sources. He also improved an afternoon snack from being like a granola bar that was processed to an apple or another kind of just whole food. He lost 10 pounds in a month. Wow. And he was counting calories. He was staying within his calories, but it was the quality of food that he was eating. And the best part was he was so encouraged. And that's what will keep building you up, is the encouragement. And that's going to motivate you that this doesn't have to be a drastic weight loss program. This is changing your lifestyle one step at a time so that it sticks, because why even bother if it's not something you can maintain for the next year or 5 years?
You're right. And when it's too harsh, too quickly, too much too soon, you go through withdrawal, you have actual physical symptoms of, hey, you're doing the wrong thing. I'm starving. I need this. I'm craving that.
Oh yeah.
Right. It just makes it that much harder to stick with. And then when you feel like crap, whereas if you do it slowly, like you said, avoid or decrease the withdrawal symptoms, then it's like, okay, I'm starting to feel like I have more energy. I'm sleeping better. It's just that good snowball. So that's awesome.
And I think if we're talking about moms that are listening here, little steps is probably going to be key. So you're not overwhelmed with all the other responsibilities. And one thing I do love to try to get to folks before they're even pregnant, like preconception care, like starting this process before you maybe even have the thought of being pregnant. Maybe it's years before, to just get in that routine if you can. But if you haven't, just start slow. And if you're already a mom and just want to make changes, just maybe pick one or two things that you can start doing that's easy for you.
Yeah, that's great. What inspires you?
Oh, I think my clients, they're just awesome. They, I see them take these steps forward and they get better. And it's just so inspiring to see, I always joke, even if I can help one person live a better life, I'm thrilled with that, because that's one person and maybe that affects their family and other people too. So that's a huge, huge inspiration for me. And the work from other practitioners. I listen to some of these podcasts, webinars, and I hear the story of some of these practitioners, and it sounds similar to what I went through. Yeah. They're doing their work because of what they went through. So I think my own health story sometimes inspires me to keep going too, because I sometimes have to remind myself, well, I did it and I know that I can help them do it.
Right.
You know, I can help people as long as they want to help themselves and put in those steps. So I think the work that others are doing keeps me going too, to hear their stories and how they're helping people in a natural way, and, you know, what I've gone through as well.
Well, I'm lucky to call you a friend, and I have to say that you are a huge source of inspiration for me and a resource as well.
Thank you.
And I've told people this too. When I was in PT school, not, super long ago, but long enough at this point, I guess long enough. We were learning that RA, rheumatoid arthritis and autoimmune conditions like that, you get it, you're done. Diabetes, you're done. Where now we know, you cured your RA. No, you're not going back to that old eating pattern, but you do not have symptoms. You do not have things to worry about from that disease because it's no longer active in your body. And that's hugely, just incredible. And so learning that from people firsthand that I've know that have done this, just it's so inspirational and just really wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners? Any other parting thoughts that?
Just to kind of reinforce the piece of just start where you can and make some changes. Even if you feel like you don't have any significant health issues, I hear that a lot too. Oh, my lab works fine. But maybe there's still things you can improve on. Have fun with it. This is a journey. That's a key thing I've had to realize. Mindset is huge. Reframing negative thoughts is huge to keep us going, especially, again, busy moms. Sometimes we're so tired and negativity is in our mind right when we wake up. Like, I'm so tired. I've got to do this and this and this. But try to find the joy in it, and the joy in life. Gratitude, just trying to have that positive thought process, because I realized that just has helped my clients, make those changes and kind of embrace the journey of it all.
Yeah. Every glass is either half full or half empty.
Yeah, absolutely. We have that choice.
Yeah, totally. So what is the best way for people to contact you, find out more about your business, or reach out to you?
Probably my website. All the information's there. So it's www.truefoodandwellness.com, all spelled out, TRUE. And there you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, my email and phone number, all there as well. And of course, always happy to speak with someone for a free 30-minute, I call it like a meet and greet, just to kind of hear what your concerns are, to see if it's something I can help with, to explain my process of doing things, and we take it from there.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
So grateful for having you in my life and on my podcast.
Thanks, Amanda. So much fun. And thanks for everybody for listening.